So thank you all for joining us today for this insight event for Buzzacott hosted by Get My First Job. I'm Sam, your event host and part of the Get My First Job team, and my colleagues Molly, Danny and Louise are also here supporting as co-hosts and will be on hand to help answer your questions as well as the Buzzacott team. So this evening we will be covering who Buzzacott are and what they do. We will hear from some of Buzzacott's apprentices about their fantastic experience as apprentices at Buzzacott, the AAT Apprenticeship Program that is studied as part of the apprenticeship, and the Buzzacott team will also discuss the 3 different accountancy pathways available at Buzzacott, which are charity, corporate assurance and business services. The Buzzacott team will then be letting you know what you can expect from the candidate journey and their top tips for a successful application. Each part will take around 5 to 10 minutes and we will close the event with a Q&A session. We will now pass on to the next part of the webinar. So it's my pleasure to introduce Catherine Walsh, Buzzacott's HR Director, who will be presenting the brand introduction segment of the event.
Thank you, Sam. Hi everyone, so I'm Catherine Walsh. I'm the HR Director here at Buzzacott. Thank you all very much for attending this afternoon. You're all very welcome. I'm really pleased as well that you have joined us and that you are interested in learning about our professional training programme. So who are we? Who are Buzzacott? I am aware it is a name that you might not be familiar with. We are a top 20 accountancy firm. We are based in the City of London. That is a picture of our offices actually, but it's not perhaps the most glamorous side of our offices, because the other side, we do look over St Paul's Cathedral. We're opposite the One New Change shopping centre as well. We have, there is about 500 of us. We are all under one roof. We're spread over 3 floors at the moment where we all sit, and then we have our 6th floor or our 4th floor, which is located on the 6th floor for our client entertaining space. So there's around 500 of us. 150 of those are trainees, so that is our trainees that are studying towards professional qualifications. We have 10 teams in total, all with various very technical specialisms. So one of the things about us at Buzzacott is we are, it's one of our key values that you see on the screen, is we are very approachable. We are a very sociable bunch, and one of the benefits of joining Buzzacott is by us all being together under one roof. You get to know so many people so quickly. We have all of our trainees regularly meeting, whether that's for coffee in our breakout area or going for lunch together in the breakout area. But everybody is incredibly approachable, and everybody really wants you to succeed and do well. So the training programme itself, I know that a lot of you, well, I know from your backgrounds that you're all incredibly academic, and I know that you will be under or facing a lot of pressure to take the university route and take the university option. The purpose of today is really to share with you that there is a really viable alternative to university if you are interested in a career in accountancy. And particularly if you might have some knowledge already about the AAT, the ACA or the ACCA training qualifications. So the training program that we have, it's something that you would start. You can start as soon as you finish your A-levels, and it will last for 5 years. You will come up to London, you'll come up to our offices, you will start on a salary of £22,000. And one of the real benefits is if you choose to take this option rather than going to university, is you will be way ahead of your peers when they eventually do graduate, because you are starting on your professional journey that much earlier. And within 5 years' time, you will hold 2 professional qualifications, so your AAT as a starting point and then your ACA or ACCA. You will not have any student debt, and you will also be on a salary of around £50,000. But we know that salary isn't actually the only motivator. Actually, it's so important to get that professional qualification, but perhaps the most important thing for you, if you are feeling like you might miss out by not going to university, is how at Buzzacott, the things that are so important to us is our culture, our values, and also the real social side and the community aspect that we have here at Buzzacott. So we are incredibly professional. We are a professional services firm, but we also have a lot of fun. You will get to know your peers very, very quickly, but you will also get to know your partners, your directors, your senior managers very, very quickly as well. And you will have regular interactions with everybody at Buzzacott. We are very sociable. We have a really active social scene, whether that is with our cricket teams, our quiz teams, our football teams, our running teams, but also we have a social committee that organises a regular programme of events. So we had ice skating this week, but also we have more formal activities organised, such as we have our annual black tie dinner dance, we have our annual conference, we have Christmas parties, we have team drinks, we have our summer garden party, and so we have lots of things to really bring us all together as a group and as a firm, but also very specific team activities as well. It's not only the social side. We really, what's really important to us is that we look after our team members. So in addition to the salary and all of your training paid for and all of the study support, we also have a wide array of benefits available. Whether, I know you're all very young to be thinking about pensions, but you will start putting into your pension straight away. But you'd also have private medical insurance or access to private medical insurance, life insurance. You also get your taste card and fruit in the office. But also we have a very structured wellbeing programme, a very structured equality, diversity and inclusion programme. We are a diverse firm, and we really want everybody to understand each other's makeup, to be educated about all of the different qualities everybody brings to the firm. But most of all, we want our team members to really feel like they belong at Buzzacott and they are very much part of us as a firm. That's really everything I wanted to cover, but I do appreciate that we only have an hour for today. There's going to be a lot that you are going to be taking in, and in line with our value of approachability, I would like to say to everybody, any of the speakers today, if after today's event you've got questions that you'd like to ask, please do come, please do approach any of us directly, email or give us a call, and we'll be very happy to have a one-to-one conversation with you, or give you a tour of our offices. That's everything from me. Otherwise, it's back to Sam. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Catherine. We will move on to hear from some of the apprentices themselves. So if Alex, Ollie and Milo can please unmute themselves and let us know about their experiences of Buzzacott apprentices.
Yeah, I don't mind going first. Hi, I'm Alex. I've been at Buzzacott for 2 years now, just over. I'm part of the corporate assurance team, so the side of our audit team that deals with not the charities, not the schools and things, all the other companies. So yeah, just being here for over 2 years, I've done my AAT, and I'm now moving on, just starting my ACA. I feel like the best thing I can do with this segment is just like tell you, or I feel like the best thing here is to answer some questions for everyone, so please interrupt me with the questions if you want to. What I enjoy about the role is that, especially compared to university, you get a lot of freedom, and you get a lot of responsibility quite early on, not in an unmanageable way, because you, like Catherine said, you are well looked after here. But you get an opportunity that you're basically 2 years ahead of where you would be if you go to university. That it's a 5-year program in our team, at least. It might be different in others, compared to a 3-year for the graduates. So by the time that they start and they're in the same spot, you've got 2 more years of work experience, and it puts you in a really good spot. Buzzacott specifically, I think, is an incredible training firm, because everyone has sort of been there. Most of our team is made up of people who did their training at Buzzacott, so people sort of understand what it's like. And I don't know about other firms, but it's a really good experience to get because the training is quite well tailored and a lot of people have done it before now. So we understand how to do it well. I don't know if the other guys have anything to add on that.
Hi, my name's Ollie. I'm in the same team as Alex as well. I joined about a year last September, so about a year and a couple months ago. Following on what Alex said, I have to agree with everything he said about like the role and the firm as a whole. Taking it a different way, like I'll just say like what I've basically been up to in the last year. So I've even though we've had lockdown, our team's been they just really like everyone being in the office, which has been really good because it means that we get to like meet everyone. And I know like for quite a few of my mates who also did apprenticeships or started roles in the last year, and some of them haven't even stepped foot inside the office yet. And it was great from the start, but I think they're really struggling to deal with that now, like not having any face-to-face contact with any of their peers. But by doing so, coming into the office, I've been able to take part in like football, running. I'm also currently planning the trainee Christmas party that hopefully is going to go ahead next week for all the trainees in the firm, which will hopefully be really good. But yeah, like everyone said, there's loads of opportunity. There's loads of, especially like social events as well. It's like quite a big thing in our firm. Like I think we do like to go down to the pub on a Friday night. I think Alex would agree. But yeah, as well, if anyone's got any questions, happy to ask in the Q&A and anything like that. So yeah, I'll hand over to Milo.
So I'm Milo. I joined Buzzacott 4.5 years ago, back in August 2017, in the charity not-for-profit team. Before that, I actually went to university for the best part of 4 months and decided that really wasn't what I wanted to do. It was fun, but didn't really feel like I was going to get much out of it, apart from a 2-1 and some debt. So I left, and I don't know how I ended up getting into accountancy, but I was told to do a professional qualification and looked into them in accountancy, decided was probably the best fit, even though I didn't have any prior experience or knowledge of accountancy. But it's not a prerequisite, as the guy said. The training at Buzzacott in terms of practical learning on the job is really good, and everyone in the team is fantastic and helps out. And then so I've done the AAT, and now in theory I should be qualifying next July if results go my way. Yeah, I think that's really about me, but the team's great. The difference between the charity not-for-profit and corporate, I think, is pretty limited. We're pretty social as well, and this job role is pretty much the same, just with different types of clients. But yeah, as the guy said, happy to answer any questions later on if there are any.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, guys. We have got some Q&As coming in, but we will save them for the Q&A session that we've got planned at the end of the event. But we have got a few coming in for you, so that's brilliant. Thank you very much. That was really inspiring for a lot of the candidates that we'll have here today. We're going to move on now to Chloe, who's going to cover the AAT Apprenticeship Program side of the course.
Great, thanks, Sam. So the way the apprenticeship works is probably best described in 3 parts. So you can all see the apprentice at the centre of the diagram here. So regardless of which team you join, the professional qualification attained will remain the same. So all our accountancy apprentices, they will study towards the Association of Accounting Technicians Level 3, Advanced Diploma in Accounting, and the Level 4 Professional Diploma in Accounting, which in short is known as the AAT Level 3 and Level 4 qualifications. The knowledge acquired through these qualifications provide a really solid sort of grounding in the core accounting principles. And at the end of the programme, in addition to your Level 4 apprenticeship certificate, you'll also be a member of the AAT Professional Accounting Body. So the qualification itself consists of various accounting modules, such as bookkeeping, management accounting, and tax, and each module would be assessed by a computer-based exam. Once you have the AAT qualification, it also provides you with exemptions from exams if you do wish to go on to further study towards chartered status, and a lot of our apprentices do so. The firm is always very keen to support those joining our AAT apprenticeship programs onto chartership should they wish to do so. With the AAT, there's a number of sort of student benefits and discounts, which is always worth mentioning. So that comes with being an AAT student member. So stuff like discounts on your car insurance, breakdown cover, cinema tickets, a number of things you typically expect as you're still technically a student. Separately to that, the second part, which is shown in blue, is first intuition. So first intuition are the college who provide the tuition for the AAT qualification. Apprentices will usually go to college for a block of tuition at a time. So for example, a 1-week course or 3-day course per module, depending on the module. All tuition is at the First Intuition's London office. However, as mentioned, due to COVID, a lot of the tuition has been online within the last year, and that's delivered via virtual classroom delivery. Although the plan is, pending the variable news of the new variant, is a return to full in-centre classroom courses from January 2022. As mentioned, the tuition consists of taught classes in addition to sort of private study and mock exams. All the tutors are qualified accountants, so will have been in your shoes when starting their own accountancy careers. The tutors are there to support you with all the technical material and will be on hand to support you throughout your AAT training. First Intuition also provide a dedicated skills coach, and they're on hand to sort of support you throughout your apprenticeship and also assist with the documentation of the skills and behaviours developed in the workplace. And lastly, the third part is us as the employer. So Buzzacott provide paid study leave to attend all courses at First Intuition, and also provide the on-the-job learning and technical training, which may be specific to the team that you decide to join. And this all helps develop those work-based skills, as previously mentioned, that you build upon throughout the apprenticeship. Throughout the sort of the 3 bodies, there's a huge support network around this apprenticeship programme, particularly both internally within the firm and also available through First Intuition as your training provider. And I believe we're going to hear from some of the teams next. So that's all from me.
Brilliant, thank you, Chloe. So we'll now move on to, if we can hear from Matt about the charity side, and then we'll sort of I'll introduce each speaker as we get onto that section.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Sam. So my name is Matt King, and I'm a senior manager in the charity and not-for-profit team here at Buzzacott, and I do mentor some of the AAT trainees. And the aim of this short 5-minute section is just to give you a flavour of the career opportunities here in the team, the types of clients we work with, and also a bit of an insight into what I'm looking for when I interview prospective trainees as well. So the charity team is around about 100 people strong, and that includes 7 partners who are essentially our bosses, if you like. All of us are specialists in the charity and not-for-profit sector, or training to be specialists. And the majority of our work is in audit. So that's to say we're reviewing charities' accounts in order to give an opinion as to whether they've been correctly prepared in its simplest form. That's audit in a nutshell. But it's more than just that as well. We're also sounding boards to our clients, advisors, technical helpers, and we do provide other services as well, such as governance reviews and accounts preparation. Our training pool is about 60 to 70 people strong at any one time, and most of those are now on some form of apprenticeship, including the AAT programme that we're talking about here today. So the good news about that, as the guys have said earlier, is there's always some sort of support from your peer group or someone who's been through the training process before. Now, opportunities wise, I myself joined as a trainee around about 10 years ago, which makes me, I think, the dinosaur of this group. No apprenticeships back then, but I can tell you that it's an excellent place to learn and a really good place to train, just as everybody else has been saying. So you begin to lead jobs within about a year of joining the charity team, but you start specialising in charity clients from day one. And I think that gives you a really good niche insight into the sector and an additional string in your bow by the time you qualify. And that, we think, is unique among the larger firms of accountants. So that hopefully answers the question, why Buzzacott, from one particular angle that I've seen coming up in the chat. Chloe and Catherine have talked a bit about the actual AAT and ACA qualifications, so I won't dwell on that for too long. But what happens after your training contract? Well, just in terms of me myself, I spent a year or so honing the skills that I picked up as a trainee, and then I was promoted to a supervisor. Then I was promoted through the manager grades, which meant I became responsible for looking after individual clients in a portfolio. And that's fantastic because it means you can start to forge relationships with clients year on year. You're working with the same people again and again. You really get to know the organizations and, more importantly, the people that you work for. And the question then is, who do we work for in the charity team? So people often have a rather narrow view of charities that goes no further than sort of bucket rattling fun runs and giving money away. And that's certainly a part of what charities do, but there's a huge variety of organizations in addition to those sorts of things as well. So just to give you a bit of an example, in my portfolio, I've got a huge number of schools and academies. I also work with membership organisations and clubs, theatrical charities, grant-making organisations, age concern, healthcare charities, religious congregations of nuns and monks, which are an absolute hoops, and some social mobility groups, and I even have a castle on my books somewhere. So a really wide variety. Some of the other managers in the team have an interest in international development charities and social enterprise, and they can be quite popular ones amongst the trainees as well. A really key point that I'm trying to make here, I think, is that the sheer variety of the clients is what makes this job fun and interesting. And it doesn't just mean the types of organisation, but also the people and individuals you come across as well. So in the charity sector in particular, you're going to come across a lot of really interesting characters, people who've dedicated themselves to doing fantastic work and have a passion for helping others. And that's even in the finance team, so even amongst the accountants in charities. And it's that passion that makes our clients interesting to work with. Now, that's not to say there aren't commercial experiences as well in the charity team. A lot of our larger clients do run themselves more or less as businesses because they've got to really, really keep track of where their funds are going and how they're applying them to their charitable purposes.
If I pass on now to Mel and Charlotte from Corporate Assurance, and then we'll hear back from you later. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Charlotte. I'm a senior manager in the corporate team. Like Matt, we also do audit. We specialise in financial services industry, so it's investment companies, either those that manage funds or make investments or act as an agent for other companies. But then we also deal in non-FS companies, so companies that buy a lot of real estate and have the investment property portfolios, or I specialise in manufacturing companies. I like to call them the companies that do something. So you might get to go on a stock take and wear a high vis, everyone loves it, and see a company actually making something. So it might be lots of timber, or it might be a shoe wholesaler. So it'll be companies that you'll probably have heard of, and you'll get to see behind the scenes a little bit and what they do and how they make their goods, which I like because it kind of gives you an idea. So when you're doing your day-to-day job, you can imagine the processes that the companies are doing, and that helps you design your audit tests on how to audit it and what the risks are. Yeah, we're kind of growing as a company, and we're getting a lot more clients and specializing in more industries. We're just getting bigger and bigger as a team, as Matt said. I'm sure when he started, there's a lot less of us than there are now. So we're spread over 3 floors at Wood Street, and yeah, we're just growing massively. So as a team, you always work in 3 to 6 people on a job. So there'll always be a junior, a senior, maybe someone in the middle, then the manager and the partner. So you're always exposed to the managers, partners, but you're not just thrown in at the deep end with no one to hold your hand. There's always someone who is there to help. So you sit in a group with your peers, and you've either got the senior next to you who can help you out day to day, or you've got people in your intake or the intake above that can give you some guidance and help you out, and then you'll do the same. And I think it helps that you realize how much you've learned by helping the year below you. You think that you haven't learned very much, and then when they ask you questions, you realize you have, which I'm sure Ollie can attest to since he joined last year. And I think with the new intake starting in September, he's realized that he's learned a lot over the past year. So we started having apprentices 6 years ago now, and we had the first 2. They recently qualified last December, and one of them has been promoted to an assistant manager with his own clients already. So there's a very quick progression rate. the 5 years that you're here, you're on the ground running, you're learning, you're doing it. So as soon as you qualify, you're straight in at the higher level because you've got so much knowledge and experience behind you, which I think really helps. And I don't think there's been any instances where the apprentices haven't felt at the same level as the graduates, and probably they felt more knowledgeable and more experienced. Even though you might be younger, it doesn't mean that you know less or are respected less. You know more, so people ask you more questions because they know you've got the experience and the knowledge to back it up. It's definitely a good entry route. So yeah, progression rates, it's pretty quick. We don't like to just sit you there doing nothing. We like to give you experience straight away, whether you're sent on site your first week or it's 3 weeks later. We have a lot of jobs out in office or at the client site, but even if you're not on the site, you'll be liaising directly with the client, either through email on the phone, or we use a sharing platform to get documents and ask questions. So you get the client experience. And as Matt said, we try to keep the same people on the same job. So you're developing a good relationship with the client, and that you can develop over time. And it helps both of you to know each other and how the other person works. And you do better work on that job when you know how they work and what their processes are and what the client company does. Or next year when you go, oh yeah, I remember them talking about that last year, and it all clicks into place.
I'm going to jump in quickly. So you guys may have noticed that I can't work IT, but I can do audit. I haven't been able to work my camera for the entirety of this webinar, and it's up here. So I may look up here and I may look at my screen. I apologise in advance for that, but Charlotte's given me a good insight into day-to-day life of an audit trainee as a school leaver, and I suspect I haven't heard it because, as I said, I was in and out of this webinar, but Alex and Ollie have been with us for, a year and to 18 months now. So they've had a good experience, particularly in a particularly challenging time with the pandemic. What you may or may not be able to see from Charlotte and mine's screen is that we have an audit team of 60 people sat behind us who are in the office close to every day, not because that's part and parcel of the job. They enjoy the people that they enjoy the work. They like the people they work with, which is a testament to the assurance team. So yeah, hopefully this webinar's given you a decent insight into the job, the people, and yeah, any questions. I've seen a couple pop up, but I suspect these may be answered later. But do let us know if there's anything else.
And as Matt said, he trained here 10 years ago. Mel and I both trained here, and Alex said a lot of people who were in the assurance team haven't left. It is basically the same, and as Mel said, we like the people we work with. So anyone who tends to leave goes into industry rather than to another audit role. It's because we just really like working at Buzzacott.
Thank you both for that. That was really great to hear the sort of retention at Buzzacott, and obviously how much you all enjoy working together. I think, Charlotte, you made some really good points as well about sort of the coming in as an apprentice and then coming in as a graduate, sort of how they kind of work together as well. So that was some really interesting points, I think, for any sort of potential candidate to consider. If we can now move on to business services with Wes and Jasleen, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Wesley and I've been at Buzzacott for 7 years now. I'm an assistant manager within the business services team, which is part of the corporate team. I was actually one of the original members of the school leaver program when I joined Buzzacott straight from college back in 2014. This is pretty much the same as the apprenticeship scheme where I studied AAT level 3, AAT level 4 and ACCA. Since then, I qualified in October 2019 and I progressed to an assistant manager. So a bit more about the business services team itself. Essentially, the team consists of 6 sub-teams and it's made up of around 60 people. The teams are the Financial Services Outsourcing Team, which is also known as the FS Outsourcing, the Non-FS Outsourcing Team, the FCA Regulatory Team, the Company Secretarial Team, the Payroll Team, and the HR Consultancy Team. The focus is more on the FS Outsourcing Team and the Non-FS Outsourcing Team and the FCA Regulatory Team, as these are one of the 3 teams which the accounting apprentice would be allocated to. So I'll briefly explain what they do. So I'm in the FS Outsourcing Team, which is split into 3 smaller teams with people of all ranks. My clients are predominantly fund, asset and investment management firms, which tend to be FCA regulated companies. We deal primarily with the management accounts, the statutory accounts, VAT applications, VAT returns, FCA returns, monitoring capital requirements, and client-specific reports. The next team is the non-FS outsourcing team, which fundamentally do the same work as the FS outsourcing team. However, the client base differs, as this can be anything from architects to medical centres, toy companies, literally anything non-financial. And then lastly, the FCA regulatory team, which provides support to FCA regulated firms, such as investment advisory firms, asset managers, private equity firms. They keep up to date with the financial regulations and help aid their clients through strict reporting deadlines. These occur throughout the year, and these are based on the client's business activity. Yeah, and as mentioned many times, you'll be glad to know that it's not all studying and work within the business services team, the corporate team, and Buzzacott as a whole, as there's a huge social culture, which includes annual functions such as the dinner and dance, team barbecues, end
I think we might have lost Wes there. Is Jaslene, are you able to jump in and help out?
Yeah. I think
you.
Wes was just saying how we've got like loads of social events and stuff. So we've got like loads of firm ones, and we've got loads of like apprentice ones as well. So over the year, I think we've had like bingo, golf, bowling, some activities. And just stuff like that. I think that's what Wes was trying to say.
Brilliant, thank you. I think Wes might be back with us now.
Can you hear me, or am I?
Yeah, we
yes, we can hear you. Sorry about that.
Should I finish off what I was saying, or because I was at the last bit?
If you can, that would be great. If you feel there's anything else to add.
Oh yeah, I was just going to mention the trainee versus qualified football match.
Brilliant.
that was about it.
Great.
That's over to you.
I'm Jazz. I work in the FCA reporting team, and in our team there's 4 apprentices in a team of 9. I'm one of them. I joined in September 18 as a school leaver, so just straight out of school. The program that I'm on is a 5-year course with 2 years of AAT and 3 years of ACCA. So I've now completed my AAT and now I'm to ACCA. The things that I specifically like about my role is that I'm always learning new things. So for example, like regulations and like the industry is always changing. This means that we constantly have to adapt and ensure that the work that we do reflects this. So I get to learn something new every day. So I really enjoy that. Like each day is quite different. It's not repetitive. I don't find it boring as such. Things that I like about the company is that everyone's really friendly and welcoming. Also, there is like an apprentice culture at the firm, because like there's so many apprentices in the firm currently. There's always someone that I can reach out to. So I've got HR managers, peers, past and current apprentices. Also, the fact that like the apprenticeship requires like on-the-job learning. It does sound scary, but the teams are fully aware of this and they do adapt to ensure that you don't feel pressured. They're always willing to teach, provide training and help out with any tasks. Like even now I can ask any question and there'll always be someone there with me, like someone to help me out. So I never feel like I'm alone, or like, you know, as a school leaver, like even if I don't know anything, they're always there to help me out. Also, the apprenticeship program, it's really important to the firm, and personally, even with the effect of COVID, like my managers have worked around this to ensure that I wasn't I'm not falling behind. Also, I'm assigned a mentor who I'm able to talk to about anything. And the reason that I applied for this job is because I knew that I didn't want to go to university, and because at the end of it, I end up with the same qualification and, if anything, a lot more on the job experience. And at the end of my apprenticeship, I have the option to stay within my team, or if not, there are many other opportunities for progression out there. So yeah, overall, I think I've made the right choice anyway.
Brilliant, thank you. Thank you for that, Jasleen, that's great. I'm going to pass on now to Chloe for the candidate journey. So if Chloe, with the help of Matt, Charlotte and Wes, would take from the slide. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so I'll just talk through the sort of application process, and then I'll hand over to the teams to kind of give their top tips on what they're looking for and how to stand out. But yeah, as you can all see, our recruitment process is sort of outlined on the screen there. So at first, we'll ask everyone to complete an online application. So we just ask you to tell us a bit about your academic background, interests, experiences, just so we can start getting to know you. In terms of entry requirements, we don't need you to have any prior accountancy experience. So we will take people with a variety of A levels, and we just ask for 120 UCAS points. If successful in your online application, we'll ask you to complete a online assessment, which will get you to demonstrate your ability to work with numbers and approach to both verbal and logical thinking. The next step after that would be a first stage interview. This is typically with managers from the team manager and a member of HR. Depending on the role, this may include a written exercise. So for our assurance teams, there's usually a case study administered alongside. Usually we'd like to do this in person, as we always like to meet people face to face. But at the moment, due to COVID, the majority of first stage interviews have been taking place remotely via Microsoft Teams. And finally, the last stage would be a partner interview. So it would be a more informal interview, less structured questions. And again, we like to do this in the office where we can, as this usually allows, you can come in, see where you're going to be working, and have a tour of the offices in addition. So we try and arrange where we can a tour with the current trainees, so you can kind of speak to them as well and see firsthand how they've found it. But I'll hand over to the managers to kind of give you an overview of what they're looking for.
Brilliant, thank you, Chloe. So yes, that would be great now to have the feedback from Matt, Charlotte and Wes as to what you look for in a great candidate.
In terms of what I'm looking for, the first thing I'm going to see from you guys is your CV. And I think it's important to paint a good picture in that. And people often have a misguided impression of accountants as being rather stuffy, boring individuals. And actually what I'm looking for in a CV is proof that you can interact well with clients, proof that you've got some of those softer skills, which are often not given as much credit as perhaps they ought to have, so that you've got people skills, empathy, a good ability to work in a team. So I'm really more interested than in looking at your extracurricular, so things like, do you belong to sports teams, choirs, orchestras, drama groups, that kind of thing, just to make sure that you've got the ability to work outside of an academic environment, so to speak. As far as interviews go, I'm not necessarily looking for model answers to questions. I'm looking for how you apply your knowledge, how you react to what we ask you, and the kind of decision-making processes your brains take. So it's not about what you say necessarily, as the thought processes behind what you're saying. I think in the charity team in particular, it's really, really important that you've got a genuine interest in the sector. So a particular affinity to a certain type of charity, or maybe some volunteering, or perhaps just an interest more generally. But we do want to see that in the candidates who apply to the charity team specifically. I think possibly the last thing I want to say is that you don't necessarily, as Chloe said, need any sort of accounting background or A-level or experience. In fact, it's probably better not to have any of that in some cases, because that lets you start fresh and look at things with a completely fresh perspective when you join us. I mean, I myself did geography at university, which has led to many colouring in jokes from my peer group, but what they don't know is I got to play with Pritt stick and jaggedy edge scissors, so jokes on them. But that really is all I've got to say about interviews. It's as I say, it's about how you're thinking, not what you're saying necessarily.
Yeah, I think Charlotte and I will probably echo exactly what Matt said. Actually, yeah, coming from a non-accounting background is sometimes more beneficial, makes you slightly more interesting. So, and I think really what we see in interviews, you know, yeah, it is the thought process rather than, you know, the model answers. And fundamentally, you've got two very good assurance teams here. What we're looking for is, why do you want to join the corporate team rather than the charity team, or vice versa? It won't be a shock that we may be asking you that sort of question. So do look at our website. There's a lot of stuff there. Obviously, if you join this and you're going to do a subsequent application, you can obviously always reference this, and hopefully we've said something interesting that you can reference back. But yeah, Charlotte, is there anything Charlotte's opposite me, by the way. That's not why I'm just looking in random places. So
I think that pretty much covers it. So yeah, we always look for a why Buzzacott, or why this specific team, not just I really want to be an accountant, but why would you want to join our firm in particular? What stands out about us? Have you done a little bit of research? Or rather than you've applied to 20 different firms and you've clearly used the same application form, we need something that makes us believe you want to work for our firm and work with us.
Yeah, as following on from those other tips that mentioned, that you don't necessarily need to have the right accountancy experience. So my main tip is quite straightforward, and but mainly just to be yourself. So although we're looking for someone who has the right grades and requirements, each team is looking for a person who is basically a right fit for their team. So don't forget to just let your personality come through during the interview process, and that can go a long way.
Yeah, as Wes said, we like a bit of personality. Don't be afraid to answer a question. If you said something about football in your application form and someone's gone, oh, what team do you support? And you say Arsenal, and then someone asks you a question about it, feel free to elaborate how much you love Arsenal. And you went to see them last weekend and someone didn't score a goal. You can clearly tell I love football. Feel free to elaborate. We much prefer you to wax lyrical about something than to sit there stone-faced and think you have to be the most professional person we've ever seen. We'd much prefer to see your personality and see if we think you'd fit within our team, and if we think you'd be confident enough to go and ask a client a question, or if you're not sure about an answer that they've given you, to be able to challenge them on that answer. A lot of audit at the moment is demonstrating professional skepticism, which is the why. Why have you done this? Why is that? Think about a 5-year-old asking why every 5 seconds. We're like that now.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for that advice for our candidates. That is really helpful. I'd like to thank you all for your help this evening, and obviously putting on this event. You've all contributed a lot to the candidates that will be applying and done a really engaging and really good job. So thank you very much. We're going to open up now for a Q&A. I think there are some questions already coming in, so I will see if anybody's ready to share.
Yeah, lovely. Cheers, Sam. So we've got some questions coming in through the chat. So one of them was, are there global or travel opportunities available within you know, the apprenticeships, or even sort of the further roles within the company?
I guess I can jump in the first instance. when you're completing your training, it would be, we are a single office firm based in London, so your training would be based in London. If you're working within the assurance team, there may be travel to, well, there will be travel to client sites, which is mainly in and around London, but sometimes it can be slightly further afield. Once you've completed your training, the Buzzacott is a member of Prime Global, so there are a few opportunities for secondments to fellow Prime Global firms. I know we've had a few qualifieds go over to companies abroad, but the majority of your training, if you're thinking sort of looking ahead for the next 5 years, it would be based in our offices in London.
Lovely, thanks, Chloe. And then again, this one really open to anyone who wants to jump in. But I suppose for the moment, I'll kind of aim at the managers, as you've obviously sort of been with the company a bit longer. Why did you guys choose Buzzacott in comparison to other accounting firms?
I think, speaking for myself, and I joined a little while ago, as I've said already, it was that blend between the real experience of a big firm that was in the top 20 accountancy firms that work with quite large, quite prestigious clients at the time, and the sort of small firm culture and values that we promote are very much a sort of get to know your client and really understand them and work with them on a personal level, rather than just going in and churning out audits like a sausage factory. That sort of blend of the two was certainly what attracted me to Buzzacott in the first instance. And I think, having been with the firm for nearly a decade now, I would just echo what all the guys in corporate assurance and business services are saying about the fact that it's the people you work with that makes it so fantastic, and that's the reason that a lot of us don't leave after we've done our training contracts. Probably the other thing about Buzzacott, which I think makes it really stand out amongst the other firms that you might be looking to apply to, certainly from a charity perspective, is that we have a team that's completely dedicated to charity and not-for-profit clients, and that I think is really unusual in the bigger firms, and it gives you that sort of niche experience that you don't get anywhere else. So I think that's probably what I'd say. Don't know what the others would think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind giving a bit of perspective from a corporate side on this. I'm obviously not a manager. I've only been here for a couple of years, but I've spoken to a lot of the applicants we get as part of like the final stage of the interview process. We just have a chat with them to kind of like clear up any queries they have. And kind of what I always say to people is that I think Buzzacott's a great firm to train at, because sort of like Matt's saying, we have that bit of a smaller firm vibe, but also we have some quite big clients even in the corporate team. But I think your training experience is all just quite well-rounded. I can't speak for other firms, but you do see quite a wide variety of clients here, and quite a large range of different sections of their accounts as well. Whereas I know for some other firms, you might not get that experience. But also it's just a really nice place to be. Like, you're well looked after. The salary is, and it's competitive with larger firms. I don't think there's a better place to be in terms of training.
Amazing, thanks, Alex. And then I suppose, being as we've kind of got you on the line anyway, there was a question about kind of what A levels you pursued. Oh, that didn't want to come out properly. So just I suppose a question for the apprentices, anyone that's kind of gone down the early careers path. What sort of A levels was it that you went ahead and did before applying for the apprenticeship? Were they specifically accounting or finance, or was it all a bit different?
I personally, so when I did my A levels, it was with the aim of going to university, which I did for a year, but then I also decided that wasn't for me. But I did maths, economics, and business, which does sound quite, accountancy friendly and focused. But a lot of the guys on the team and a lot of the people we have here, come from a wide variety of A levels. You don't have to have done any specific ones. A lot of people have done maths, but then it's not like, all encompassing. You can do any A levels and you come into this with a clean slate. It's more about the way that you approach things and you think than any prior knowledge.
Yeah, just to add on that as well. I'm one of those people that didn't actually do anything remotely accountancy wise. I did geography, psychology, and business. So it does actually just go to show you don't need to do maths and economics and etc.
I think I actually prefer it if you haven't done an accounting A-level, unless you're not sure if you want to do accounting, then it's great. But you've not got any prior knowledge or prior ways of doing something that you might have to unlearn when you go to college. So I'd say pick something that interests you and you don't have to do accounting to get a job in accounting.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, everyone. And then again, you know, question for anyone who's kind of gone down the early careers route. How did you all find the application process? So from when you kind of saw the job online to obviously sort of getting that offer through the post, how did you all find it?
When I did mine, it was sweet. I think I remember turning up for the interview, kind of expecting it to be kind of very formal, but actually it was quite, in a way, quite relaxing and becomes quite more of a chat. And as the guys were saying, it's kind of about getting your personality across. And then I remember a second stage interview with one of the partners in the team was actually just a chat. It was kind of very much personality based. So yeah, as the guys said, not terrifying. You'll be glad to hear.
Yeah, agreed. I also found, compared to some of the other companies that I applied for, that Buzzacott are a lot, I'd say a lot more respectful to the candidates who are applying. They get back to you quite, quickly and actually give you feedback on things, whereas some of the other companies you apply for just leave you in the dark for quite a while. But yeah, echoing Milo's thoughts, it is very informal, particularly the second stage interview. You sort of go in expecting like a really formal discussion with a partner, and then you realize 30 seconds in that they just want to talk to you.
Amazing, thank you. And then two more questions from the chat, and then we will go over to some of the questions that I know we've got in the Q&A section as well. So firstly, there's a question from Sarah asking whether Buzzercoil keep all of their apprentices on after they've completed the qualification.
I can see Milo shrugging in the corner there. I'll answer that from a manager's perspective. I don't think we've ever turned anybody away when they've qualified. We keep all of our trainees on for at least a stretch, and usually it's people who want to move out into industry, spreading their wings and flying away from us, than us pushing anyone out the door. So no, we've never turfed anyone out after the qualification, as far as I'm aware.
Lovely, thanks, Matt. And then I suppose another one as well that's quite broad, open to everyone. In terms of sort of, we've had a question saying, is there diversity within the workplace? Which I suppose I'm going to kind of expand on there to ask, what sort of support groups and things there are. I know a lot of companies, there's sort of, little groups that get together, and there's a lot of additional support for perhaps the more diverse candidates. Is there something like that within Buzzacott?
So if I can jump in, so at Buzzacott, as I mentioned at the start, we do have a very structured wellbeing and equality, diversity and inclusion programme that we launch in January every year. That involves anything from events to regular surveys, seeking feedback from our team members. So we've just had a November pulse survey, which we sent out to everybody. We also have a staff forum where ED&I and wellbeing is a regular agenda item. We also had equality and diversity and inclusion open forum meeting in October, where anybody could attend and raise anything that they wanted to, and just share with us. And at that meeting, it actually came up about the topic of pronouns. We ended up having a gender and identity webinar on the back of that, and then we've introduced the usage of pronouns. But yes, so it's something that we take very seriously. We also have a very active corporate social responsibility programme. All of our team members are given 2 days to take time off to volunteer each year, and we provide regular opportunities to volunteer as well, so regular organised volunteering events.
on top of that as well, you also get a mentor. So there'll be a manager or a senior manager who is your mentor that you can go to for any questions, queries, and you'll get a buddy. So Alex has been a buddy this year. So he's been helping out the new joiners who are on the AAT as well. So he gives them the benefit of his experience, and if they've got any questions or need any help, there's someone there that you can turn to.
Amazing, thank you. And then this one is, I'm going to kind of open it up to the floor. But I suppose probably the apprentices are going to be the best people to ask. So what would you say is the hardest part of your job?
I'd say from someone doing their AAT point of view, the hardest part is really when you're coming up to exams and you're working and then you're also studying in the evenings and then got the pressure of the exam, let's say like the next week. But to be honest, after you've done that once or twice, like you just realize everyone around you's done exactly the same thing and you're doing it with people your age or in your intake. Because I saw another comment on here, it was about sort of age cutoffs, and I don't really think, I mean, I can't talk for the firm obviously, but I was 20 when I joined, so I took 2 years out of A levels, and I know for a fact when I joined, there was someone that joined charity who was a few years older than me even then. So age-wise, like if you were looking for a year out or anything like that, or like Alex went to uni for a year, it's not something that you have to do like straight after school or straight after A levels. But yeah, in terms of, sorry, the hardest part of the job is basically just getting over the initial fear of the exams and then realizing that everyone's in the same boat. So to be fair, it gets easier.
Amazing, thank you. So I will hand over to Molly now, who's got a couple of questions in the Q&A panel that we've got at the bottom of the screen. So Molly, over to you.
So yeah, like Danny said, we've had a couple of great questions. I'll start with a question for the apprentices then first. Are you all doing degree apprenticeships?
Within the corporate team, and I think the whole firm, we do apprenticeships to gain a professional qualification. So it's not a degree, but to be honest, if you completed your qualification and then went to another company to try and join in like an accountancy based role, they'd be more interested in you having the professional qualification than any degree. So it's not a degree apprenticeship, but it is very good and possibly better.
Fantastic. And also another one I'm just going to open up to anyone. What is the earning potential then after completing the AAT and the ACCA?
I suppose I'll have to take that, knowing everyone's salaries. I mean, so I know we've said that within 5 years, you will be earning the 50,000, up to £50,000, and then really it just depends as you progress through. So for partners, hundreds of thousands. So.
Fantastic, thank you. That's it from then the Q&A section. Danny, did you have any more from the chat?
Yeah, we have had a couple of questions around BTECs. I mean, it's a question that, to be honest, I'm fairly happy to answer because there's a lot of candidates saying, are you still eligible if you do a BTEC? You will still be eligible because it's just working out sort of the equivalent UCAS points. So it's fairly easy. If you go online, you can just type in what grades you've been predicted, and then you can work out what your UCAS points will be from there. And then just having a quick look through the last ones. So Cash has asked, do Buzzzacott offer degree apprenticeships? I feel like Alex has covered that fairly well, but possibly one for you, Catherine, or one of the managers.
Yeah, so I am aware that there are some firms that offer the opportunity to study for a degree while studying for your professional qualifications. That isn't an approach that we take, and it is, like Alex said, to obtain the ACA or the ACCA, which is the end goal for our apprenticeships. That is higher than any degree, achieving that qualification. So it's really of no benefit to put our trainees under additional pressure and make them do additional exams to get that. Once they've so first of all you achieve your AAT, and then you go on to do your ACA or ACCA, and any other firm, if you were looking to go somewhere else, they wouldn't look past you having the ACCA or the ACA. So
can I jump in as well? Sorry, just to within the professional qualification, if you are considering whether you want to go down the professional qualification route or the degree route, and you do think potentially you're worried about missing out on that degree, if that is a real big consideration for you, the ACCA, which is the route offered within our business services team, they actually partner with Oxford Brookes University. So once you have attained your ACCA qualification, as we've mentioned before, that's all you really need in the accountancy world. But if you do feel like you would like to attain a degree alongside, that is something that you could do. I think you just have to write a dissertation, and that's something that you can do yourself if that is something that you want to pursue. So it's just an additional dissertation that you need to complete to then get the degree alongside.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for obviously answering all of the questions. Anyone who's got any additional questions that obviously we haven't been able to answer, please feel free to send us an email over to the opportunities@gmfj.co.uk email address. Myself and the team will then get in touch with all of the guys from Buzzacott and get some answers for you.
Thanks, Danny. There was some really great questions there and lots of engaged candidates. That was really good to see. So thank you everyone for taking part. Thank you to all our brilliant speakers, and thank you for everyone who has attended this event.